it's painful to be a woman. And so you struggle through it, but we really are lacking a lot of information and really lacking that idea that we as women in particular have a different operating system. So we have a whole nother system that's happening every month that the other 50% of the population is not experiencing, and none of the health guidance or education that we receive growing up or really as adults is informed by that. But it is such a huge indicator of how we experience the world as a key vital sign, but it's not treated that way.
Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, where high performance health meets non-toxic living. I'm Brittany Ford, a holistic nutritionist, bringing you science-backed strategies in biohacking, longevity, and holistic wellness. Whether you're navigating fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, or simply striving for optimal well-being, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Well, welcome back to Biohacking with Brittany. Thank you for tuning into the episode today. I am back in town in Canada. I have been traveling for the last month. I was in Texas for the health optimization health optimization conference. Then I was in Nicaragua for 2 weeks. Then I was in Miami, and I'm back, and I am so excited to be here with you. I am going to do a full health optimization summit conference review. I know a bunch of you kind of asked for that. What was it like? Is it worth going? What was the tech hall like? What were the products? All of these things. I'm going to do a full review for you. And I am going to do a podcast episode on Nicaragua. I got a lot of questions in my DMs. You can follow me on Instagram at biohackingbrittany if you're new here. But I got a lot of questions about what it's like there. Is it worth going? How does it compare to Costa Rica? Why did I go there? Why did I take my baby there? All of these things. So I'm going to do a full episode, kind of talk to you about where my head is at, what's coming down the pipeline, and all of these good things that are coming. But it was an incredible trip, and I feel refreshed and excited, and I really needed to kind of get out of town in a sense. So much good to come. Today's podcast episode was really, really cool. I got to sit down with the founders of Daily Basis. So if you're watching on YouTube, or you can see this video right now, I'm holding up Daily Basis. Essentially, this is a supplement company that has created supplements for the different phases of our menstrual cycle. We talk a lot about why this is needed in society. We talk about probiotics and how they can be helpful, different amounts and different strains during different phases. We talk about how we're different every single day, and society is really just kind of built more on this male structure. And so it was really cool to sit down with them. They have both been through their own health journey of, birth control and menstrual cycle issues and things like that. And we really get into the nitty-gritty of those types of things. I also talk about my own menstrual cycle, where I'm at, getting my period after having a baby, and how to kind of regulate my menstrual cycle now. We talk about fertility and how it can be important for that phase of your life as well. And all around, just how we can balance our hormones in a more gentle way. We also touch on giving back as part of your business. And this is really inspirational for me, as this is something that I'm thinking about right now. How can I kind of build this into my own business and give back to those people in need, especially coming back from a trip like Nicaragua, where I saw so much of that, and makes me think about having a bigger, broader impact on the world with the things that I am doing. So you are going to love this episode. This is for all the girlies out there. I think you're really going to get something out of this. And a shout out to Peak. Before we get started, I am obsessed with their matcha. They have the sun goddess matcha. I have it every single morning. They also have electrolytes. And honestly, I feel so much more rejuvenated and energized than I did when I wasn't taking either of these. And I actually took both of them with me on my trip. So it was really nice to have proper electrolytes with me. And it was also nice to have some really great matcha that I could make on the go, iced, and have it really nice and cold with some coconut milk in it. And it was really lovely. So if you want to try matcha, you want a bit more of a gentler energy, sun goddess energy. We love that. You can try this by Peak, and I will link it in the show notes for you and on my website. Take a look. You get 20% off if you use my link, and that includes their electrolytes as well. So enjoy this podcast episode. I will be back on Friday with another AMA. I might dedicate the whole episode to my trip. So stay tuned for that if you want to hear more about travel and conferences and all these good things. And stay tuned for some other exciting things coming down the pipeline very shortly. Well, welcome back to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so excited that you are joining today. We are diving into one of my favorite topics that I feel like I've been talking about for a long time, and that is the idea of cycle syncing in a sense, but really understanding the menstrual cycle and the different phases and what we can do during those different phases to optimize it, but also what supplements and nutrients we actually need in order to feel and look our best during those different phases. And I am joined by Sophie and Izzy, who are the co-founders of Daily Basis, a company on a mission to redefine hormonal health through science-backed targeted nutrition. And we're going to get into it, but I have their supplements with me here. And essentially what they have done is they have created a certain supplement blend for the first half of your cycle, and then a completely different one for the second half, which I love because it really just shows that, we're not the same every single day. So before we dive into like all things hormonal and the menstrual cycle and everything like that, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited that you are joining me. So what was the inspiration behind creating something like this that I really haven't seen on the market yet?
You want to jump in, Soph?
Yeah, sure. So I think that Izzy and I both came to the idea of daily basis from our own unique experiences. I think that, and also some shared experience, which is why we know that daily basis is such an awesome needed product in the market. And we both came from like food and innovation and nutrition and marketing backgrounds, but really both of us had some long time challenges with our own unique health. And throughout our 20s, we both had really experienced some metabolic issues. They manifested differently, but what we really started to see was that when we were moving through our own health journeys, we started talking to all of the different women in our lives, really started opening up about these conversations of what was going on with us. And we started to hear that reflected back to us in the conversations we were having. So the women in our lives were also really struggling with many different symptoms, from, kind of the classics that you'll hear about struggles with their menstrual cycle. So like irregularity or a lot of pain around PMS or fluctuations in energy and mood balance. But then also things like so many women were dealing with like lots of chronic gut issues, but that Izzy and I now, through a lot of research and conversations with doctors and specialists, know that this is all linked. Many of those symptoms are linked to metabolic health and menstrual health. And so, as we started having these conversations and we weren't getting a lot of answers or like holistic answers from the health specialists that we were, really seeking out to help us with our own health, we dove into a lot of the research and we're like putting a lot of the pieces together and really felt super passionate about bringing some of those findings forward to both support our own health as well as all of the women around us who were just kind of struggling with this classic idea of it's painful to be a woman. And so you struggle through it, but we really are lacking a lot of information and really lacking that idea that we as women in particular have a different operating system. So we have a whole nother system that's happening every month that the other 50% of the population is not experiencing, and none of the health guidance or education that we receive growing up or really as adults is informed by that. But it is such a huge indicator of how we experience the world. And we talk about, and this is not new for you, I'm sure, but as a key vital sign, but it's not treated that way.
Yeah.
So we really came to the idea of daily basis as one, we know that a lot of women are struggling deeply with nutrient deficiency, and that is one of the primary causes for hormonal imbalance and a lot of the symptoms we see that show up around the menstrual cycle. And then also just the idea that we don't have the knowledge. So all the pieces around it, the lifestyle components, we don't have a great many women, myself included, I will say there are a lot of women out there that are very educated on this. But we don't get that traditional learning. And so we wanted to bring a product to the market that both provided that nutrition as well as some education around the different cycle phases and what you can do throughout the month to support yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I actually created a guide. It's still on my website. I created a guide like 4 or 5 years ago on exactly what you're talking about on cycle syncing. And this idea that, certain nutrients can help during the different phases. But I'm curious how you went about the research component of this, because my guide is very light. Like I didn't formulate a product from it. But if you were going to formulate something like you guys have done, how did you figure out like, oh, this is how much B6 we need in the follicular phase versus the luteal phase? Like, how did you figure all of that out?
Yeah. So we were really fortunate to be able to work with an awesome team of medical experts, starting with one in particular, functional medicine doctor who had 20 years of women's and hormonal health experience, getting blood work and case studies and really understanding unique hormonal health and what can support the different phases of the cycle. And so although Sophie and I had kind of a light background, I would say, on what is supportive during those phases, I was doing this on my own, kind of trying to shift how I ate, eating maybe more raw vegetables during the follicular phase and more starchy carbohydrates during the luteal phase, or supporting my exercise habits or having more iron after my period, those sorts of things. But I knew that there was more to it and that there was going to be a more supportive tool that what served as actual packed nutrients to put in something that could really be supportive throughout the entire month with those different nutrients. And learning more through these medical experts and this doctor that we worked with, the big thing that was focused on was what are the hormones that are being secreted during that time and the amounts. What's that causing in the reaction to if you have either more hormones being secreted or less hormones being secreted, or maybe you have an excess of estrogen during your luteal phase, or maybe you're not ovulating, or maybe you have a really heavy period. Like, what is happening and what nutrients can be supportive to those mechanisms? So a really good example is in the luteal phase of our product, the DB2 is what we call it. The nutrients in there are, most of them are herbs and botanicals that really support decreasing an inflammation reaction. Because what we see during that half of the cycle is a large amount of prostaglandins are being produced, which is essentially what is causing a lot of the symptoms. And there are actual things that you can take that can help to decrease those, to soften the reaction. In addition to providing the nutrients to support things like your mood and your anxiety, during the luteal phase. So many of us struggle with anxiety. And so that's why we put amino acids in there during that phase to really help with that reaction. In the follicular phase, you have a bleed during the first week and you're losing so much blood and tissue. And we need to replenish that in order to help with absorbing the rest of the nutrients throughout the month. So having that packed iron in the follicular phase, that increase is really supportive. So long story short, we kind of had a background, but working with those health professionals and really kind of putting pieces of the puzzle together through them was ultimately what brought this product to life and the formula to life.
Yeah.
And I think
No,
I was just going to add there that something Izzy and I always make sure that we say is that we don't have medical backgrounds. We have strong personal experiences and we have dived into this a lot on our own to help, figure out what's going on with us. but we have absolutely leaned into, as Izzy was saying, in the very beginning for the development of the product, we leaned into the specialists that we did. And then we have since built out a really robust team that spans both the more naturopathic side as well as the Western medicine side. And we know that there's distrust across the medical spectrum. And so we've really leaned into trying to build out that team. It also includes a nutritionist and a dermatologist and a few others for not only to help tackle the specific areas that people are struggling in, but also so that people can see a representative from the medical field that they trust in behind the product, informing what's important to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. I don't know where I heard it. It might have been on another podcast, but it was talking about the trust that we have in medical doctors in Western society now. The statistic was something like 40% of people mistrusted doctors prior to COVID, and then post-COVID, it's now 70%. And I believe that, and I see that in my own circles and the people that I talk to. So I think it's amazing that you actually took the initiative to create a holistic team to really support you and have different inputs there. It's not just one medical doctor sitting on a board telling you, hey, add this one thing. It's like, no, let's bring in naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, and all these other realms.
Yeah.
Yep.
For me, that was something that really early on when we talked to consumers, we knew we needed to do right away because, I mean, I'm sure you have life experience with this. You go into one doctor and they say something that makes you distrust the whole medical system. And then you go to another type of specialist and you're like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah.
You find one that you're like, I trust this person so much. And maybe they didn't have the background you thought it did. So talking to women, we realized that that was just something that more companies that are creating products should have. And we are super stoked on the team we have because we learn so much from them, and having the different perspectives is critical because you get all facets of health, including stress and exercise, skin, gut. It's the whole gamut, and it's super special.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm curious about, my camera moved. I'm curious about the feedback that you get from the people who take your products or like your community around your period and the symptoms and signs that you might have. I know you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but there tends to be this idea of it's normal for me to have a lot of pain during my period, so much pain that maybe I even take time off work and I sit on the couch, or I have a lot of PMS and my anxiety is really bad but it's normal and it's fine. And it's always been like that since I got my period at age 12 or whatever. There's this narrative that we just normalize any symptoms that kind of go with our menstrual cycle. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think they're normal or common or both?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things in there. I think starting off with the second part of your question, the PMS, normalized PMS. And I think that when you think about what's happening in our bodies, it's incredible every single month what the female body goes through. And the reality is we are shedding the lining of our uterus and our hormones are having this natural cycle, and we are going to feel that, right? Like there is so much happening in the body. We are going to feel that, and that is normal. And what we've said from the beginning is that unless you're taking something, unless you're taking something for a medical purpose to halt your hormones, or you're taking something like hormonal birth control that really alters the pattern of your hormones, the goal of daily basis is not to flatline anything. It's to get your body to the balanced place where your hormones are on the trajectory that they should be for a normal cycle. And so what we know is that there's a lot of factors in our life right now, in our like modern lives, including some of the, toxins that we're eating and breathing and drinking, along with some of the stressors in our life that are really causing our hormones to not be in the pattern that they should be. And what we know is that when they are out of whack, this can cause or exacerbate symptoms, including PMS symptoms. And so we're getting these like really, really extreme highs and lows. And that is not normal. So debilitating PMS to the point where you're missing school, you're missing work, there, and you're bleeding so heavily that you can't leave the house. Like that is not normal.
Mhm.
Feeling your body is, feeling the process is normal. And that is actually something that's part of the product is like part of it's important to get different nutrients throughout the month, but also the purpose of the product in two different packages serves also as like an education tool. You get to the end of DB1 and you're like, oh, okay. Assuming that have a regular cycle, you're going to start to say like, oh, something's changing and I should feel something different now, or I may be feeling something different now, and that's normal. And, my energy might dip, all of those things, but you shouldn't be having these like major crashes. So that's really the goal of daily basis is to get you back onto more of that cadence, that like normal ebb and flow of your hormonal cycle.
Recently, my body has been telling me something was off. My skin has kind of lost its natural glow, and no amount of water has helped to keep me hydrated. And my energy has really just been all over the place. Tired in the mornings, crashy in the afternoon, wired at night. Definitely doesn't help when you have a baby. Then I found Peak's Radiant Skin Duo, and let me tell you, it's been actually such a game changer. This is a doctor recommended duo backed by experts like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Will Cole, and it's designed to deeply hydrate and boost energy and support whole body wellness from the inside out. It low-key has 15,000 five-star reviews, so I absolutely had to try it. And wow, within weeks, I have felt a difference. There is the Sun Goddess Matcha, which is my daily energy savior. Unlike coffee, which can leave me jittery and crashing, this gives me calm, sustained energy that lasts all day. It's packed with L-theanine for focus and EGCG antioxidants that really support firm, clear skin and gut health. Because let's be real, great skin starts in the gut. And then there are the BT Fountain electrolytes. And this is hydration on another level. I used to drink so much water and still feel dry and depleted by midday. And turns out my body just wasn't absorbing it properly. BT Fountain has clinically proven ceramides that actually lock in moisture at a cellular level, keeping my skin and my body hydrated from the inside out. And the glow, insane. I actually see a difference. Peak has such great purity as well. They go above and beyond with quadruple toxin screening, meaning they actually look at heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. And many, many companies don't do that. There's no artificial junk, no sugar, nothing like that. Just clean, science-backed hydration and energy. I feel more hydrated, more energized, and more like myself than I have in a long time. And there's no more waking up exhausted, no more feeling dull, dry skin, and no more energy crashes. If you want to feel like I feel and you want the glow as well, and you're tired of being depleted, I highly suggest checking out Peak. They have their offer, which is 20% off plus a free rechargeable frother. I love this. I use mine all the time, and a free glass beaker. So you can go to my link to get this, which is peaklife.com/biohacking. And this will get you the 20% off and the free starter kit. Do not sleep on this. Your body and your skin will thank you. I love that. Yeah. I didn't even actually think about that. Like having the two different bags as a cue that, oh, I'm shifting.
Yeah.
Like I'm naturally shifting, and that's okay. Like it's okay to feel different, and not have the same amount of energy as I did a week ago. Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. I'm curious if you thought about splitting it up into 4, because technically there's 4 phases of the menstrual cycle.
Yes.
Or was it from a product standpoint that it's like, hey, this is easier for consumers if it's 2? Or like, what were your thoughts around that?
Yeah. So we initially did think about 4. Obviously it's a little challenging to make 4 because especially since the ovulatory phase and the menstrual phase is so short.
Yeah.
I think that the product being in 2 is also when you think about the medical purpose of the product or how supportive it is, it's really supporting the two major shifts in hormones. And so the first half of the month is you have the high estrogen phase, and the second half of the month is when you have your high progesterone phase. And so the nutrients in the product and the way in which you cycle sync is really centered. It should be centered around those two kind of high, low hormone phases rather than thinking about it in four phases. I think that the education around four phases is really critical. And so many of us don't understand that. But thinking about those two major shifts, and like Sophie was saying, those are really the two major shifts that you feel. You have the first half, you're more energetic, you can hit your workouts harder, you feel more social, you might feel higher libido or sex drive, you might feel more beautiful. And then the second half of the month, those things maybe shift, right? So you're a little less social. You want to be more inward, more creative, maybe. And I think that the education around what the high hormone and low hormone phases do is really powerful for women. I find that when people understand this, and I'm sure you felt this too when you first learned about this, I think that for me, it kind of serves as a guidebook, and it allows me and so many women we talk to sort of let go of how they're feeling and accept that, oh, I'm in my luteal phase. And so I can go on or do my workout, but just the knowledge that it might feel a little harder, it allows you to stop waging a war against your body and asking yourself, why? Why am I not hitting it hard enough? Why can't I reach my PR? Why can't I run fast enough? Why am I so tired? It creates this dialogue with yourself that didn't exist for me before, and it allows you to like really come back to yourself and your body and pay attention to the cues and honor those cues rather than constantly just pushing yourself against them. And so I think that yes, we are proud of the product and nutritionally it's supportive, but I have found that that's been a really powerful thing to watch women realize, oh, wow, my body is dynamic and this is how I can support it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to add the piece because I think your first question was really around response to the product from people, like consumer response. And we have not been in the market for very long. So we have had some women who have been on it, who have been trialing, helping with taste testing and stuff, but we've not actually been in the market for very long to really see a month over month, change. We have heard from people and also from Izzy and I's own experience out of the gate. We have heard things anecdotally about energy. So like increased energy for sure, from some of the ingredients that are in there. So you'll have like your B vitamins, which people might, who have not been taking it, immediately feel like a great response, or some of the iron or some of the magnesium. So if there's ingredients in there that people have not been taking, I think people are feeling some really great benefit to that. But the month over month cycle syncing, like buildup that you might feel at 3 months or longer, we're excited to get that feedback once we start to get people hitting those like milestones.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I think it'll happen. I think especially if women are not taking any nutrients at all, B vitamins is a great example. You can definitely feel a change within a few days, like a replenishment almost. And obviously you guys are, I guess, like early in your stages here, but I wonder if you were to create future products, it would be interesting if you had some sort of add-in on your ovulation day or during your period. Like keep the two main ones, but add in something that you find that you might actually benefit a lot from during your menstrual cycle, or like when you're actually bleeding, that could just be an extra as well. Because I do think it's a good point that splitting it up into 4 is not necessary. and it would be hard on the average person, especially because you only ovulate for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So like taking a specific, and like, how would you even know when
Yeah.
your 24 hours starts? Even if you track your temperature, like I do in the morning, like it's like, okay, I'm ovulating today, but like, did that start last night? Did it start this morning? And then like, so it makes sense. But I wonder if there's something that you could add in the future. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked a lot about how the product, because everyone is also on a spectrum of where they are with their own understanding of their body. And we believe that the product can be like in its basic form, it is a multivitamin designed for women. Plus, then there's nutrients on both sides that help support the cycle specific or the phase specific pouch. So what we're thinking about is that it should be supportive for all women at a foundational level. And then we're thinking about whether you are just getting started and you don't have much knowledge about your cycle, or you're super advanced and you know exactly where you are every single day and you are tracking your temperature. How specific or customized can you get with the product to best suit and really, really optimize your own health depending upon where you are in that journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious if you've had anybody use it during the postpartum phase to kind of help get their menstrual cycle back or to help regulate it after having a baby.
Yeah. So we have just one that we know of, case study. It's a close friend of ours who was in a lot of the focus groups. And she took the product a couple of months after she had a baby. I believe it was 4 months after she had her second kid. And she has been really impressed by how quickly her cycle has come back. Granted, we like to disclaim, I mean, she's super healthy in general and is someone with a lot of really healthy habits and lots of knowledge on cycle syncing. So there is that. Obviously, I think something that we always like to say is that supplements are just part of the piece, right? There's so much that you need to be doing for your health in order to really unlock the amazing feeling that being healthy is and that you know of. And so I think that she swears that the supplement was a big part of that because her last baby, that was not the case. But I think that one of the reasons why we had the idea for the product was I was feeling at the time when the product was created, I was getting off birth control. I'd been on birth control for 10 years and I was really nervous about getting off birth control. I wanted to get off it, but I was like, I've been on this synthetic hormone for so long. What is my body going to do? Am I going to acne or mood swings or become depressed or gain weight or like am I going to be completely out of control? And I wanted something to support me because I'd done so much research on how birth control can deplete your nutrient stores. And we learned really quickly talking to women that these different life phases, whether you're getting off birth control, you're starting to think about having a family, you had your kid, you're getting your cycle back, all of these different phases has never been about the woman. It's always kind of been about either the kid or the family building and having something to be supportive during that phase for your female body is a really great tool to have. And I think it's reliable to have something that you know is helping, that you can just put in your water every day. And it's easy and it's serving the purpose that you need to really transition to that next stage of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my cycle back pretty early at like 4 months, and I was very surprised. And it was a terrible period. And everyone told me your first period back was going to be terrible, and it was. But my cycle has been irregular since having a baby, and I know that's to be expected in the first year, and so I'm not too concerned as of right now. But I think in the next 6 months or so, I would really like to see my cycle kind of get back to a regular place. And something like this is actually very beneficial for that because I think, like you said, it's like the cue of like, oh, I'm done this whole packet. Like I should be moving on to the next one by now. Have I ovulated? But also like making sure I'm getting the nutrients that I need, especially postpartum when my body is quite depleted still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who kind of similar was on birth control for about 12 years, and she's coming off, or she just came off about a month ago, and they want to start trying for a baby, which is amazing. And I was trying to, in a very soft and gentle way, just kind of just say, like, it might take time. Like, you know, you don't know what your menstrual cycle is going to do. And like, usually you need a couple, like a year or two to actually detox like all of those synthetic hormones. Um, have you had people who have come off of birth control and had a lot of success with this right off the bat, like getting that cycle or regular again, even if it's been like 12 years?
I mean, I was one of those people.
Yeah.
I used the nutrients on a daily basis, even the product wasn't quite finished by the time I was doing this. Sophie knows I would bring my giant supplement case to our work and like have my 40 pills. I was taking not 40, but a lot. Trying to replicate the amount of nutrients that would actually be available to absorb in the body. And I got my cycle back the second month after
Wow.
birth control, no problem. And it wasn't even a bad cycle. I had no cramps. It was very much like a medium bleed. I was shocked, super shocked. And I also was experiencing all of these other benefits. And I, again, part of this could be getting off birth control, but I had way less anxiety. A lot of my like intrusive thoughts that I always had started to dissipate. And I do think that there's something to be said about having adequate nutrient stores. It's just super supportive just for your whole body health. It's the gut, it's the brain, it's the mood, and those three things rule your life if you let them. And so I think that um, having adequate nutrient stores, there's an argument for it no matter what. And obviously food first, but having something to support that is going to be super powerful for anyone, man or woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our food is not nearly nutrient dense enough, sadly, anymore. Even if you are buying organic, like the research has shown that the amount of vitamin A in a carrot today versus 50 years ago is just not even close to what it used to be. And to get the amount of vitamin A that we would need to eat so many carrots every single day that it's just like not even really possible. So the supplement industry, that's why it's so big and popular, is like we actually do need supplements, but it's finding the right ones for you in a personalized health manner and also like high quality. And then, design for women is really the extra thing as well. You did talk about gut health, and I actually wanted to ask you guys, because I was looking at your supplement facts here. You included probiotics. And I think, yeah, they are different. They are different. So there's different amount of probiotics for the two different phases. So why did you do that?
Yes. So the probiotic blends are purposely curated because of the different absorbability essentially during the two different phases of the cycle. So during my understanding of it, and granted, I am synthesizing from all of the research that our very smart health professionals have put together. So if I get a fact wrong, that's on me. But that's the disclaimer. So my understanding of it is that during the luteal phase, the gut-brain axis, it takes more kind of absorption of minerals to actually make a difference. Minerals, probiotics, ingredients. And so having the extra probiotics is super supportive to that gut lining and can really help with the absorbability and the bioavailability of all of the other nutrients in the supplement. And that's something that we worked with those health professionals to really put together a formula that can be. I was actually talking to someone this weekend who's like, you should create a chart that shows all of the different nutrients in there that helps the absorbability of each one, because you need kind of counteracting nutrients to actually absorb certain ones. Like vitamin C is a really great example of one that is very helpful for other vitamins and minerals to help absorb in the body. And without it, you pee some of them out. That's why everyone calls supplements expensive pee, because most of the time it's actually probably true if you're not doing it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the reasons behind the different amounts in each supplement is daily basis 1 and daily basis 2. A lot of them actually just have to do with the body's ability to absorb the amount during that phase, depending on how the hormone that's
Cool.
secreted at that month is affecting the gut brain axis and how you can absorb into the small intestine or the large intestine at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really cool, like, essentially the gut microbiome is just different during the phases. Like, it's different every day and it changes obviously based on your environment and your food. But if we look at it from the standpoint that it's also different phase to phase with the menstrual cycle, it's just it's another factor, or it's another indicator that we are so biologically different that to treat us the same every single day throughout the month does not make sense. If even our gut bacteria is different on the smallest level, our society is just not built for women really to thrive if we're different every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I have different, maybe this is TMI, but I have totally different bowel movements throughout the, I mean, like, you can like track it, just the way in which you are regular or not throughout the month, or like the subtle differences. I think it's a proof point to show that there are differences in how your body is processing food. I use the example, like, we don't really eat giant salads anymore during my luteal phase because I'm like, I can't digest it. Like, I cannot digest it. My husband will be like, oh, I really want a big Greek salad. And I'm like, I'm in my luteal phase. There's no way that's right now. Like, we need to cook the vegetables.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I think something that you were saying too just a moment ago about just the importance for supplements due to the lack of nutrient density in our foods, and also our society not being really built and designed around women and women's health. I was a major supplement skeptic, born and raised on, if you're not getting nutrition, like the proper nutrients through your food, then you're doing something wrong or something is wrong with you. But when you're talking about the increased need for it now, between both like our soil being super depleted and then also shipping food around the world, and the second it's picked, it's like plummeting in nutritional value. But the other component of that too is that women are losing tissue and blood for the most part if you have a menstrual cycle every single month, and we are not necessarily taught about how to replenish that. And so I think there would have been a day and age where you would have naturally been eating different foods at different times of the year rather than having access to any food that you're craving anytime. And so I think our cravings also are not mapping to what our body needs. Our cravings are mapping to what's available to us. And for women in particular, really getting that nutrition after major blood and tissue loss is going to look different than what men need every month, which is kind of the same thing every single day. And so society really is not built on the idea that we should be getting different foods throughout the month. And that's one of the primary differences there too, is just that like loss and that need for replenishment.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with everything that you said. It's I was just thinking about this right now. It would be so interesting to put into, I don't know if you guys ever use AI like ChatGPT, but it'd be so interesting to put a prompt in and be like, if society was based off of women's menstrual cycles, what would it look like? And like,
Let's do it.
Like, what would the work week look like? Because I don't think we'd be working Monday to Friday every week, like 8-9 hours a day. That doesn't make sense. So I'm so curious, if we were to really go deep into something like this from a society standpoint, like, how would we all benefit? Like, men would benefit as well, because we would all be feeling better. So then like, my husband would benefit. I would be nicer to him.
We would definitely all benefit. Everyone.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. It would just be so interesting to kind of figure something out like that. I know part of what you guys do, part of your mission is to give back. And you have some initiatives around that. I would love for you to talk about that and kind of why is that important, especially when you are just kind of starting out?
Yeah. So it's something that we have talked a lot about from the very beginning. Izzy and I both come from backgrounds and businesses that were really, a couple of them were really fantastic models for that. And we were able to see the longevity. We both came from Cliff Bar actually, and they really built those values in at the very, very early stages.
Cool.
And then after 30 years, they've become, one of the primary donors to organic research. And, not a lot of people know that, but the impact they've had over that period of time is really huge. And so I think that's both been in our own values. Like we started this business because we care about women's health and we want to push it forward. So that's in us. But then we also saw the example of what it can look like if you build it in at the beginning to a P&L versus putting it in later. So the as we get off the ground, the goal, we do not have it in place right now, but the goal is to have a model that is percent proceed to that it will benefit a specific we can't share right now, but will benefit a specific area of like research or give back for women's health. But then, so that will be built in early days getting off the ground. And then also the other thing that we're doing is really in activations right now. So as we get off the ground and we're doing a lot of marketing, that looks like partnering with businesses that are also really focused in women's health and standing up types of events that are panel based with very like education panel based. So not just, some events are super fun and get the name out and they're really great, but we really also want to funnel a lot of energy into events that are going to provide a lot of education resource. So having specialists like medical specialists on panels to kind of talk about cycle health, specifically women's health in general. And then also partner with businesses that are like give back for doing give back models. So like donating menstrual health products, which is actually part of an event that we are planning right now.
Nice. Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah, I think it's really beautiful that you are, weaving it into the fabric of your business from day one, because it just shows how genuine and intentional you are with what you're doing. And there are so many women and girls worldwide that really do need support. Whether you are donating menstrual products or even if you're helping fund research in women's health, you can do it a bunch of different ways. But really, if we can get more funding in these areas and support, like that's what makes the difference, and that's what makes the change that we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things that we're trying to weave in right now that we think would be really powerful, it's taking a while to get it up and running, but donating, we can sell a supplement all we want, but the reality of the situation is that only people who can afford the supplement can buy it. And so we really want to figure out the best way to give to women who are in the positions of needing the nutrients the most. So I don't know, maybe that's prenatals for women who can't afford them. We know there's so much research behind birth defects with women who are deficient in those key vitamins, especially folate. And so how can we support those women while living out our mission of making sure that the nutrient deficiencies aren't having those long-term effects? So these are things that we've thought about a lot, and are working them in as we grow. And we are also obviously always open to feedback and how we can do better, because we think there's a lot of businesses out there, but how can we prioritize the part that's really the most important, which is the mission?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I was going to say that the part of the business is Izzy and we believe very much in the product and think the product is very beneficial. But we've said over and over again that the more women know about their own bodies, that's going to be the biggest difference in everyone's health. was when we truly understand our own bodies and can make really informed decisions. And the more women are having those really informed conversations and taking down some of the taboo around it, that will really be have the biggest impact.
Yeah. I wonder if there's maybe it's not for you guys, but I wonder if there's an opportunity to actually educate girls that are younger and get into the health classes or the sex ed classes, and start this conversation much earlier than what we probably figured. Because I know when I got my period at 13. There was no way we talked about any of this, like not even close. It was just like, oh, this is blood coming out of me. I don't know what to do. Freak out. Okay, here's a pad. Okay, that's it. Like, cool. But if imagine you go into a high school and you say like, this is what happens when you ovulate and this is how you're going to feel and it's okay. Like starting with a younger generation, I think could make serious waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually talked about just that early days as an idea that we were both super passionate about. So that's, I think we would both actually love to see that happen.
Yeah. I was just talking to a friend. She's a teacher at a middle school in San Francisco. And last night she was like, it's actually so fascinating how periods are talked about now versus in our generation. Because I remember same thing. I was so scared of my period. And when I got it, I freaked out, and my mom never told me I was going to get it, and no blaming on her. She just, she didn't know. And I remember having to like call the nurse's office or go to the nurse and get pads. My friend was telling me, she was like, yeah, it's amazing. They're actually talking about their periods in a very casual way. Granted, they're not educated on that. And she, as a teacher, has to educate on it. But girls who are 12, 13 will come in her office and she keeps pads and stuff in her desk. And they'll be like, oh, what's that? And she'll be like, oh, it's a pad and this is what it's for. And they're very curious and open. And I was like, it's so interesting to see the generational shifts, even though they're so far from where we need to be, because I think it would be great if they were being actively educated about it. But it's good to see that it's becoming a little bit less scary or taboo. But I think there's a need for sure. I mean, when I learned about my cycle in my late 20s, I was almost annoyed by, like, why didn't I learn this earlier? I should be understanding this from the age of 13, 14, not 27, 28. It would have changed my early 20s. So I think it's spot on.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I remember learning quite a while ago was like, you can't get pregnant every single day. Like, what do you mean? Because my narrative in high school was like, be on birth control. You could get pregnant anytime. Like, don't get pregnant. Like, there was so much fear mongering that was happening. And then when you're older and you learn about your cycle, you're like, oh, I actually ovulate for 24 hours only. Sperm can live up to 5 days. So literally there's like a 5-day window every single month to get pregnant. And that's it. It's like, whoa, there was none of that education when I was growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so much of that is trusting women to actually understand and use that knowledge rather than let's just force fear down everyone's throat. And make sure that, I think the fear was instilled in all of us, like, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. And then, like you were saying before, all of a sudden you're supposed to flip the switch. And not only do you, have to have this massive changeover from synthetic hormone, from birth control, or go off of it if you haven't already. But then if it doesn't come right back, you're like, wait, why? What's broken with me? And then there's the added layer of stress. And so rather than just having this education from the very beginning and trusting women to know about their bodies and know when we can get pregnant, which would be so powerful, so powerful, and really help a lot of things.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And I've seen friends who've done exactly that. They come off of birth control and they expect to get pregnant right away. And they don't understand, like the timing of it during the month. They don't understand what birth control can do. And yeah, there's just a lack of education all around. And it starts from such an early age. So if we can talk to girls in a very like casual way and make it less of a big deal, really. And it is becoming less of a big deal. I don't think people are walking around hiding tampons up their sleeves anymore when they're going to the bathroom type of thing. But I still think there's some way to go for sure.
Yeah.
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 So this year, what's coming down the pipeline for you guys? What can you share with the audience?
We are we are so in it right now. There is so much going on, but I think that this year is so exciting. So we've been out for a couple of months now, and I think that we are in a really great spot with the product, and we are just so excited to have it out in the world and share it with people. And like you were talking about before, really start to get feedback from everyone who's taking the product so that we can, one of our missions too is to continue to iterate and improve on the product as, we learn more and we hear from consumers. And so mostly what's coming down the line is we will be doing a lot of events and partnerships and just getting Daily Basis out into the world. And we're very much in a building phase.
Nice.
So a lot of that's, full steam ahead. And I think it's the really exciting part because we actually have it in front of us. We've been behind the scenes building for, the last year and a half, and now we're out in the world and really excited to share it with everyone and get a bunch of feedback. And that's where we're headed. Did I miss? Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. You should let me know. Well, I don't know if you know yet, but like what conferences and events you're going to this year or next year. I just went to the Health Optimization Summit in Austin, and it was incredible. And so if you're looking at one for next year, I highly recommend it. A ton of like people into biohacking and health optimization who are early adopters who would love this, and a ton of women. And the conference was like 2,000 people. So it was incredible. Yeah. And I didn't see a single menstrual cycle product.
Wow. Yeah. We've been shocked by that. Are you, have you heard of eudaimonia?
I have, but I haven't been. Wasn't it recently? Didn't it?
I think it's it's coming up at some point this summer or fall. I just heard about it the other day. We're talking about going to it. Yeah.
Okay. I should look at that one again.
Like up your alley.
Is that one? That's not women's health focused though, right?
No, it's more so kind of cutting edge health.
Okay.
I would say. I think like a lot of the kind of health tech companies are there.
Nice.
Garmin and AG1 is there, and a lot of the podcasters are there. So yeah, check it out. I don't know.
Cool.
We'll let you know if we're there.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to meet you guys. That would be amazing. In the meantime, if people want to try Daily Basis, where can they go and how can they find you?
You can go to dailybasislife.com and you can buy it on the website. Our Instagram is also Daily Basis Life. We'd love if you give us a follow. And we're just really stoked to get this out into the world. And if nothing else, help women understand their bodies more. So I'm really happy to be on here and chat about that.
Yeah, amazing. Okay. I will add that to the show notes and my website so everyone can find you easily. Thank you so much for coming on today. This was amazing. And I just love what you both are doing.
So great.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for tuning into Biohacking with Brittany. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone on their own wellness journey. Stay connected with me on Instagram at BiohackingBrittany for more on high performance health, non-toxic living, and the latest in biohacking. Until next time, keep striving for your healthiest, most vibrant self.